I'm cutting it just inside that edge. I could have measured it. So now that's going to be our front piece. We're going to stick it on here. Now normally it doesn't come right up to the front there. There is a little recess. We can put a line of double-sided tape. I'm just setting it back from the edge a couple of millimeters. I can peel that and I can put that front piece on. Now obviously if we wanted to make this into a complete bench we could just add another piece, but you can see that's quite strong. It's just a nice little angle, and we're going to sit that in here, which will represent our kitchen bench top. I'm just going to stick that in place with some double-sided tape. Just put the double-sided tape on there so it's sticky and on the bottom. Now I can just neatly put that in place. So now there's our little bench top and our refrigerator. Now simple tables like this, you can see that would be easy to make. We can do the same sort of thing. We've got the design here. What we'll do is we'll glue this straight onto sticky board as we did before. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just cut the table out itself. Got our little bit of adhesive foam again. We can draw around that. Reduce the depth of our blade because we just want to use it as a scoring device. We can then score that. Peel the adhesive, and that's my tabletop. Then I come back, drop my blade down again, off we go. Cut the thickness. I generally like to cut thicker foam core in a couple of passes. That way you reduce the wear on the blades, sometimes 3 passes. That's going to be the top of our table, which is going to be here. Now this time I'll just show you a quick and easy way to build that up. We've got this little piece off cut here that was adhesive foam. If I cut that in half, what I can do is I can just use that. That's a sticky piece. Take the next piece. So now I've got that done, and then all I need to do to hold that in place is to put a little bit of adhesive on the bottom. Then I can stick that in place. That's going to be our table. Now we're going to make the bed. You can just do this without actually cutting these templates up. You can draw them straight onto the foam itself, but I've just found this is quick when I've got to do it for somebody in a hurry. So this is going to represent our bed. Same thing, we're going to stick this on. In fact, I'm going to use this foam core for a few different things. This time, rather than just peeling it, I'm going to cut that all the way through. Because I'm going to use this piece underneath, so I can peel that off. Stick my top piece on there, use this piece underneath, flip it over, and now I'm just going to put a couple of little pillows on there too, because I think that works quite well. I might just have a look at the size there. What I'd like to do is get the size pretty right so that it looks real. So I'm coming back to my square again. One good thing about this board though is it is marked up with a grid, so it's relatively easy to line your tools up on it when you're cutting, and it's great for when you've got to cut things and stick prints down onto board. I'm just going to cut that whole section. And then let's just mark this up because I like them when they look real. This is going to represent the pillows. Make sure I show you a little tip with foam core that you can do, a little trick. It's very mouldable, so even though we're cutting here some rigid shapes, it's actually quite easy to bend this product. So if I bend this around a little bit, I can bend it in. I can actually, using my scissors or another tool, actually put some little bends in there. So now I've actually sort of given it a few little stitches and things and bent the shape a little bit. So when I put it on there, it'll look a little bit more like a pillow. So you can see here I've got one where I've just sort of manipulated a little bit. There it's just rigid. It's up to you what you want to make it look like, but I just think it adds a little touch to have a few little creases in there. Sort of makes it look a little bit more like a pillow that's been used, or that it's at least a real pillow. Then I can peel that off. Actually, I didn't use the sticky side on there. I'm going to put a little bit of double-sided tape on the back. Just a piece on there. We peel that off. And then that's going to come down here into the bedroom. So there we have our bed. Now we're going to have a quick look at how we do a circle, because circles can be very useful for making all sorts of different pieces of furniture. This one we're going to make into a round table. So this is the Foamworks circle cutter. It'll cut different diameters, and it's got a little scale that you set on the inside here to set the diameter of the circle. On the end here is a little adjustable piece where you put the blade. You need to unscrew that screw, and be careful you don't lose this little white piece, because that's the actual clamping block for the blade. And you can see from the icon here as to which way the blade goes. The blade is going to sit in there. There is a little magnet there. See how it just grabs that blade so it doesn't fall out? You can just pop it on the magnet and then put your screw through and tighten that back up. But certainly this is something, once it's set up, it's quite safe for kids to use, because it'll be underneath the actual disc when it's cutting. Make sure it's good and tight. So that blade can't move. It's rather sharp, so put that in for the kids if they're ever going to use it. Don't let them change that blade, it is a sharp one. But actually when it does cut, it sits inside the cutting tool there, and they can't actually hurt themselves with it. So the trick is, when you want to use this, it starts by unwinding it all the way up into the machine. So when it goes back as far as it goes back, that is ready for you to go and cut. You need to adjust this size, and this size actually is the radius of the circle. So on my plan, the circle I've got to cut for my table, I'm just going to make a quick measurement. The circle I've got to cut for my table is 1 3/4 inches or thereabouts, or 45 millimeters. So I can read on the scale in here, I can see there's my 1, there's my 2, there's my 4 and 5. So 4 centimeters, 5 centimeters, 45 millimeters is halfway between the two, on my 1 3/4 there. So I'm just going to bring this along until I align my edge with the 45 millimeter. So now I've set that to cut a circle to match this table.